Hi everyone, I think we're now up and running. Sorry it's late, I got held up. So what we're going to talk about today is the crowdfunder. Full and final settlement, in our view, in the view of CEDAW in law, can only be achieved through the courts, where they can examine the evidence, scrutinise the evidence, and reach a ruling, a decision. I think the comments are open here. They should be. I'm just going to test it. Yeah. So what we're saying is the crowdfunder and what we're trying to do, which is a group class action on behalf of all 50s women who, should donate to the crowdfunder in amounts that they can afford, and so that we can say to the legal team who are on standby, here is the funds that we've raised, donated by generous women who, are sick and tired, frankly, of being asked to fight and being asked to dip in their purses once more. But one thing about our campaign is, whenever we say we're going to do something, we do it. And some other campaigns don't have that track record. So John Cooper, Casey, and David Green are a fantastic team. They are a first-class legal team, and they know full well the whole backstory here. They know about our judicial review and how we were told on the steps of the Supreme Court in our application for a hearing that all the arguments we put forward for that hearing were granted to be heard. Now, you don't get to the steps of the Supreme Court in an application for a hearing with all your arguments granted to be heard unless you're in a very strong position. And we at that point were very buoyant, and actually, we thought, let's get into the court, and we imagined that we were going to be successful. But as you know, they said, oh, you're out of time. We were not out of time. They never explained why they thought we were out of time. It was just a one-sentence brush off, and it was a paper-thin excuse, because they didn't want us to get into that court, in our view, because had we got in the court, all our arguments that had been granted to be heard would have put us, the judges, in the position that some observers would not want them to be in, which is to fairly look at this injustice. So at that point we were told, okay, you're out of time. Subsequently, we have done, on a pro bono basis with eminent legal teams, 2 tribunals. One looked at CEDAW and why actually CEDAW had not been domesticated in this country, despite being ratified by years and decades ago. And the second one was to look at the state pension, the impact of the state pension age changes on 50s women. And as you know, the Honourable Dr. Jocelyn Scott, in her judge's report, found that, we'd been discriminated against. And she also suppressed the idea that we were out of time with the, as indicated by the Supreme Court. We knew we weren't out of time, and had we got into the court, we could have proved that, but they wouldn't even give us the opportunity in the Supreme Court to say why we weren't out of time. And that's the shamelessness of you know, holding us back. So that's a judicial review that we crowdfunded for. We explained where all the money went, not only for the legal, but we used it to publicise our campaign. We made some fantastic films, one in particular that's my favourite, where we projected on the side of the House of Commons Backto60.com. That moment will stay with me forever. It was sublime. So yeah, so the Supreme Court, 2 tribunals, pro bono with eminent legal teams. I mean, the fact that, you know, that was unprecedented, that a team of 8 from Garden Court Chambers come on board with us for that first tribunal. And, you know, we had a 3-day hearing broadcast live out of Conway Hall. The second one, similarly, we had similar legal eminent legal support. We have a squad of qualified legal assistants. We had all the Digi team working their socks off as usual, voluntarily. And out of that came the judge's report. So that takes us up to November last year, when we went to 10 Downing Street and delivered that report. And the Honourable Dr. Jocelyn Scott stood on the steps outside and said, well, you know, here it is, discrimination has been found. Subsequently, we went to Parliament. We did a series of presentations to show MPs the findings of the judge's report, and we you know, simultaneously had 4 Elysée motions. We formed an alternative dispute resolution group, and it was very popular and lauded, by the way, by the co-chair of the APPG for state pensions in a presentation in front of the whole committee. So that's the condensed version of where we've been. Okay, where we are right now is we have Garden Court Chambers approached the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions and said, we'd like to invite you to mediation with, you know, to talk about what I've just been talking about, essentially. And twice they wrote, and that invitation, we understand, is still on the table. There is no reasonable excuse not to come to mediation, because the first excuse was, oh, the PHSO is the investigation's going on, so we can't come to mediation. So we said, in Dr. Scott's name, actually the maladministration investigation and the mediation can run concurrently, progress concurrently. They exist separately. They're nothing to do with each other. So the second excuse they used was, oh, right, well, you know, the judicial review, you were told by the court that, you know, you had no case, which is an outright lie. That is not what happened at all. And yeah, that's just spin to make it look like they have an excuse not to do the right thing, essentially. So as I explained to you earlier what happened with the Supreme Court, we were super keen to get into that court, and you know, not that it's going to happen, but if we had the opportunity now, we'd go in there, and in my personal opinion, I think we would be successful. And I'm a lay person, I'm not legally trained, but that's my personal view. So mediation is still on the table, but we've moved forward with John Cooper and David Green out of Edwin Coe and John Cooper out of 25 Bedford Row. We've moved together, and we met with John and David. We explained everything, what we wanted to do, and it was agreed that we would instruct them and we would crowdfund, as we have been doing for a couple of weeks, for this group class action, well, specifically to pay for the case development. So what we will do with the money that we raise is go back to the team and say, okay, we've crowdfunded the monies, now let's move forward with the legal plan. So we're very buoyant about our position. We have a phenomenal hand to play on behalf of 50s women. We have the evidence out of the judge's report and other evidence, but specifically the judge's report. And we have the political high ground with 4 early day motions and the ADR group. And, we meet with MPs on Zoom and elsewhere. Just recently we went to the Just Fair Convention, met MPs there. But what we don't do is go around saying, hello, here's us meeting with an MP and, we had a cup of tea and a piece of cake. And no, we don't do that. We work behind the scenes in doing what we're doing, and we're very proud of our strategic modus operandi. That's how we like to do things. We don't, if an MP is not going to, if it walk their talk, then we're not going to give them the publicity, essentially. Any MP that's signed the EDM, yeah, absolutely. Any MP that's part of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Group, yes. Any MP that's written to us or behind the scenes, told us privately they're on side, yes. But there are some in the Tory party, in the Conservative Party, we know that they're on side, but they won't come out publicly and say it because of the Tory whips, essentially. But we know that they're on side. So we've got the legal high ground, the political high ground, the moral high ground, and we're really confident about our position. So what I'm saying to you now is, the comments should be open, so if you've got any questions, you can put them there. I should be able to see them. And we just want to push on swiftly. We are tired of 50s women being treated like they're persona non grata, that they don't matter, that other people are pushed ahead of them in the queue for whatever reason. 50s women have done all the right things, paid their taxes, paid their national insurance, looked after their families, volunteered in the community, caring roles, child caring roles. I mean, come on. It's time somebody stood up and said, let's hear it for 50s women, apart from what we're campaigning for here. 50s women are heroines, absolutely heroines. And I'm not saying that nobody else is a heroine or nobody else is a hero, but I'm saying it's time 50s women were recognised as heroines too. So, some of the women that write to us, their stories, it's like something out of Dickens, and they're getting worse. They're saying, I can't cope anymore. I can't cope anymore. Please help, do something. The autumn statement is next week. What's going to happen next week? What horrible things are we going to hear? It's just 7 years of festering cruelty, unnecessary, because had we been allowed to get in the Supreme Court in the very beginning, this would have been done and dusted. And, at that point we wanted to introduce CEDAW as well, by the way. And we believe that had CEDAW been heard, then that would have tipped the balance. Obviously I can say that because it's conjecture rather than fact, but that's my feeling. So somebody says, when we have raised funds for the class action, how long till we go to court. Janet Fides. Well, you know, once we've got the money, we go back to the legal team. We set up teleconferences, meet in person, develop a case strategy, and do the paperwork, etc. And whatever the necessary steps, administrative steps are, you know, they will be embraced. But what I can't say to you is this is what's going to happen, or it's going to take this long, because it's an unknown quantity. We haven't got the money yet. We're almost there, despite the censorship, despite the defamation on other pages, you know, and denying women their right to know that they're entitled to fight with these rights. That's the shamelessness of these people that won't share our crowdfunder. You know, what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? If they, you know, that women can't make up their own minds about what they want? Come on, you know, anyone who stands in the way of anybody's rights is a saboteur of women's rights, and we're calling that out. So if you know, don't put our crowdfunder out there, or you actively censor it from women victims, then you are a saboteur of women's rights. And you know, I'll say that to anybody's face, by the way. I'm not saying that anonymously. I will say it to, and I've got people's names in my head right now that I would say that to. So yeah, what we have said to the legal team is that we want to get on with this swiftly because of the backstory, and because of women being let down. And you know, let's face it, WASPI crowdfunded for 2 judicial reviews. Neither of them materialised. For whatever reason, they never materialised. And so all that money that was crowdfunded for those judicial reviews, we believe, you know, we're now saying, or co-write, you know, let's have money for this group class action, and people saying, hold on a minute, you know, WASPI crowdfunded for 2 judicial reviews, they didn't happen. Well, let me tell you, our track record is we say what we're going to do and we do it. And that's all I can say, you know, that that's where we are. And we've got a great legal team. We've got all the evidence, by the way. We've got the Honourable Dr. Jocelyn Scott, whose phenomenal work, pro bono work, over the last few years is unmatched. And without Jocelyn, we would not be in this position we're in. Without Jocelyn's pro bono eminent work, we would not be in this position. And let's be fair, had we not done those people's tribunals, we wouldn't be in this position either, because there were people not wanting us to interview witnesses, you know, under strict protocols. They were not wanting us to do that. It was completely ghosted in the media and elsewhere. But do you know what? It was fabulous work that we are so proud of. And the CEDAW committee in Geneva, you know, they're totally with us. They talk about women in leadership positions, you know, being at the table, making decisions. And that's another thing we're doing, is to make sure when decisions about women's lives are being made, that women are at the table. And we're working with the CEDAW committee to make that the law, essentially, an international law, as part of the CEDAW treaty. We're not just, you know, this has become much bigger. One of our patrons, Dr. Proudman, she's working for women's rights, and she's achieving great work on behalf of women. We've got 8 patrons. Ian Byrne does great work, you know, around poverty and people entitled to food under human rights. Prem Sikka, incredible output about, you know, actually where funds could be found to help people rather than corporates that's a whole other, you know, subject I don't want to get too much into. And David Henke's blogs, I mean, David is a saint. He's been behind us since day one, and he looks at this injustice objectively and says his own views. He's one of our patrons, and yeah, he's an award-winning investigative journalist and veteran lobby correspondent. So he's in the House the whole time. He knows exactly what's going on in the House, by the way, and he has done for years in the House of Commons, I mean. So, and there's Sam Smithers. She was formerly the CEO of the Fawcett Society, and yeah, she does fabulous work. So Jocelyn, Ian, Prem, David, Nazir Afzal, incredible work. You know, he was the former Director of Public Prosecutions, and he's totally on board with us. John Cooper himself is one of our patrons. I mean, we've got such great people behind us, you know, cheering us on and cheering 50s women on, and wanting them to succeed in securing back their own dues, because they are earned dues. It's not a benefit. You've paid for it all your life. By the way, you know, back into, you know, what I was talking about, we've written to David Cameron, who is now the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Commonwealth and Development. He's also a peer in the House of Lords. And if you remember rightly, he, back in the day, 2010, and Nick Clegg, the leader of the Lib Dems, they were part of this coalition that kicked off all these state pension age changes. And we reminded David Cameron about his colleague, what was his colleague's name? George Osborne, about he brags that about the £500 billion saved for, you know, this state pension age escalation. It was the easiest thing they ever done. You know, come on. And Boris's, you know, fresh eyes, new vigor thing. And, you know, let's face it, Labour put £58 billion on the table, and they now think that, you know, that's all forgotten. Nothing to see here. We never said that. What are you talking about? Yes, you did say it, and it was an undertaking. You know, it was on Sky News, John McDonnell, you know, saying about this £58 billion. And now what's happening, the PHSO, this time last year around, said, well, yeah, my recommendation is £1,000 for each of the 6. And by the way, I'm off now to Ukraine to meet President Zelensky. He absolutely crucified the women who, you know, when he made that statement and went off. All over Christmas, they were in pieces. He came back and, I mean, yeah, we let them know what we thought about that. And, yeah, that when WASPI were going to do their judicial review, we were going to piggyback that judicial review and, you know, yeah, to say whatever it is we were going to say. But as you know, their judicial review didn't happen. They formed a secret agreement with the PHSO. Nobody knows what was in that agreement. Why they didn't have a deadline for that for the PHSO to publish his report, nobody knows. So, you know, all they do is blame us for our judicial review. They blame us, you know, no doubt they're going to blame us now. You know, we'll let them. We've got broad shoulders. We're going to be doing this. They can do whatever they wish to do. They were invited to mediation, WASPI, via their legal team. They didn't reply. So we have a clear conscience. We have got a phenomenal hand to play. So what we need is, there are, I think it's 13,000 on this Facebook page. Okay, 13,000. So we wonder, you know, if 13,000 made a donation, or even 1% of that 13,000, you know, we could get the money overnight, get onto the legal team on Monday morning and say, okay, we've got the money, let's go. That's what we want to do. So, yeah, it has taken us longer than we imagined to get this money. However, there's a stable upward trend on the crowdfund income. And that's all we need. It's coming in. We understand women are struggling and that they've put into 2 judicial reviews that never happened. They put into our judicial review that did happen. Yeah, you know, and they've paid membership to other groups. We don't charge membership. We don't keep secret what we're doing from anyone. We tell all victims. So, you know, one more thing before I go. I put an update on the crowdfunder and it spoke about how full and final restitution yeah, it can only be full and final restitution if the evidence is examined in court. And for true justice, we want true justice. We don't want, you know, a man who's, you know, from all intents and purposes, sat on his hands for 7 years and watched this festering cruelty happen. And, you know, if you don't believe, you know, that he has sat on his hands and there are other reasons for it, well, maybe there is. But whatever those reasons are, in our mind, they're inexcusable. And he could have sorted this out probably in 6 months. You know, 6 months, all it would have taken. If you had the right team, you know, on the PHSO maladministration thing. Yeah, there's many reasons why it hasn't come to a remedy. They say they're going to make an announcement next week. Well, we'll be interested to see that. But it won't stop us. What we're going to be doing is we have to examine in court the evidence to get true justice. And the only way to get true justice and, you know, the best remedy is to go to court. It's not going to be done in a parliament that sat on this for 7 years, or by the PHSO that sat on this for 7 years. I mean, you know, they'll say they haven't sat on it, and they'll say all these excuses why it hasn't come to a conclusion. But President Obama, back in the day, when he first became president, the first thing he did was to look at the Lilly Ledbetter case. She had gone to the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court, and she was told her case was out of time. And they said to her, go back to Parliament, which is essentially what they said to us, knowing that, you know, we're going to come to a dead end in Parliament, by the way. And, yeah, so Obama said to Lilly Ledbetter, that's going to be my first piece of legislation. So his first piece of legislation was to overturn the Supreme Court's decision that it was out of time. And he made a piece of legislation to counteract the effect of the discrimination that, you know, she described essentially. So that was the first thing he did. So what we're saying is, if Obama can do it, so can Sunak. There's other ways to get this through Parliament. There's a temporary special measure. There's statutory instruments. Yeah, you know, there's many ways that it can be done. And if it has to be done, you know, by going to court, then so be it. So I'm just going to go back to see the questions, if I can. Sorry, I can't get this to move. Someone says, in my opinion, the only reason why the DW are avoiding ADR talks is because they know we have lawful and moral rights on side. They have no answers to the judge's report or how ratified CEDAW is binding on the government. That's true. How do members get our posts encouraging other 50s women past the moderation scrutiny of various 50s women pensioning justice groups that are blocking us by not allowing our posts on their groups. These admin have set their hats on the PHSO route and will not allow us to post. Just call it out on Twitter. Just say, I tried to put the crowdfunder on so-and-so and it wasn't allowed. And just, you know, no, let's not make defamatory remarks, but just call it out. You know, because these people, in my opinion, they're saboteurs of women's rights because, okay, they don't want to participate in the legal route, but they should not be denying victims the knowledge of their legal rights. And by the way, let's take this down the road and say we go to court and, you know, we win. I tell you what will happen. These people who have not allowed the crowdfunder to be shared or any of our work to be shared, they'll be elbowing each other to the front of the queue saying, oh, how much will I get? And let me tell you, we've had that before with the judicial review. That's exactly what happened. People that did that will remain nameless, but I tell you, the people feigned support for us. And then when we got the out of time decision, they said, oh, that's nothing to do with us, that's Backto60. I mean, the duplicity is incredible. But, you know, we've got broad shoulders, we let it go over our heads, we just keep going. And, yeah. Let me see if I can scroll this up. I don't know why I can't. In my opinion. Sorry. It's amazingly wonderful, the strong team of eminent people supporting us with their expertise and knowledge, and we 50s women are both forever grateful and honoured to have their support. Yeah, second that, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I don't think people realise just how favoured we are with John Cooper and with David Green and Jocelyn Scott and Gina Miller. Gina Miller's on board, totally on board with the advocacy for 50s women. She's going to put something in the True and Fair Party's manifesto. How quickly can we, you know, go ahead, as we need it settled by latest in 2024? That's Kerry Farmery. Well, you know, I mean, we'll get the money, we'll say we want to do it immediately. It's not like a judicial review, it's a class action. The route is different, and David Green is noted for his expertise for the class action work. And he was the president of the Law Society. Someone says Crystal Pearl, £12,375 pledged at the time of posting. We are so close. Joanne is right. The only chance we stand of reasonably just outcome is via the legal system. They will not pay up unless forced to do so by the law. Well, yeah. But we understand that what's going to happen with the PHSO, and if the PHSO wants to correct me on this, you know, let me hear it. I'm all ears. Okay, we understand what's going to happen is they're going to pinpoint a demographic, a modest demographic of people, and they're going to say to them, if you meet this criteria and you have this evidence, then go to the DWP and get in a queue, and we'll let you know whether you're going to get anything. And yeah, so they're going to claim dump effectively. Someone says, Kay Crested, we must fight on, must be on, not helping at all, and have definitely muddied the waters. 50s women. Yeah. Well, you know, we are the superior campaign, and I say that with all due humility, but it's the truth. We have you know, they're on our coattails. We are really confident. Yeah, and Chris Gibson says the DWP track record is not exactly encouraging. Delays and errors. Yeah, absolutely. You know, Meg Hillier, the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, you know, she said it's just a shambles, and you know, they don't do the job that they're supposed to be doing, and what's going on there, you know. So look, £15,000 to get an eminent legal team to put together a case strategy for a group class action, literally, in my opinion, and nobody else's, is a one-off. When it's gone, it's gone. You know, this is a bargain of, you know, epic proportions. £15,000, it's nothing. Yeah, and you know, name me any other fight of this magnitude that's ever asked for £15,000 to do such a job. There isn't one, except us, when we were crowdfunding earlier, and we said specifically we want X amount of pounds, we want to do X. We did that, and we said we've done it, and thank you for the money, and here's the evidence that we did it. So, you know, John Cooper, he is one of the top silks in the country. He's in the top 10. You know, he is ferocious in his cross-examining. You know, he won't be taking, well, I was going to say he won't be taking any prisoners, but perhaps I shouldn't say that. So Max says the law is on our side. When governments ratified CEDAW, they are bound by articles within the treaty. They relied on public not having a clue what CEDAW is or entails. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and CEDAW has been used before in Parliament for the what was it used for? The single women only shortlists to get women to be MPs, and also in Ireland to do with women's rights in Ireland. You know, it's been used before. You know, it's hidden because it's women's rights, and yeah, you know, come on, look. What we must remember is that we've come all this long way. We have fought for years, and certain people have done everything to stop us in our tracks. And we could tell you that story, but actually those people that tried to stop us in our tracks just made us stronger, because we said, wow, look what they've done. They must be desperate to stop us. We've got to keep going. And so indirectly they kept us going. Instead of crushing us, they kept us going. And they've kept you going. And, you know, we're so grateful for your support. But, you know, we need to get this money. And if we could get it this weekend, finally get it this weekend, then all the better. So, you know, I can't see any more questions unless Facebook is hiding them. I don't know. Or, you know, I've tried to scroll down. But if you've got a question, ask me now. Somebody asked me earlier, actually. What did they ask me? If this, no, what did they say? Is this about all 50s women? Or is it about the 2011 Act? I can't remember the exact question. Right, so what this is about is what we fought for in the judicial review and what is outlined in the judge's report. So the Honourable Dr. Jocelyn Scott described the impact on 50s women and said it was, you know, everything that it was is discrimination. So, you know, if you'd care to read the judge's report, it's on our Facebook, on our website, cedarinlaw.com. Anyone can read it. you know, and other groups have poached it and feigned as their own work when it wasn't. Yeah, so, you know, we say to other groups, yeah, it's, you know, there's a lot of contention because we push through, and we're seen, because erroneously seen, as the ones that have you know, affected the progress of the maladministration investigation, when in fact actually the opposite is the truth, because a lot of the evidence that we gathered was used by other groups against the PHSO, and we know that for a fact, because, yeah, so we're very proud of who we are. And, you know, let's face it, other groups, they have maintained the profile of this injustice. Yeah, they have. But this is, you know, they need to come on board with us, because we are the ones who have done everything that I've explained. What other group has created the body of work that we've created with the pro bono support and paid support that we have had? Tell me one group that's done that. There isn't one. Okay, so this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call, and say, you know, well done on whatever it is you're saying you've achieved. Yeah, you've provided succour to women in groups who, you know, want to share how they're feeling. Absolutely, you've done that. You chat on Facebook and talk about, you know, what happens in Parliament. Yeah, you've done that. Yeah, you've engaged with MPs. But now, what action have you done that is going to win the day? Tell me. What action? Because it's plain that MPs are not going to do this voluntarily. It's plain that the PHSO is not up for, not up to the expectations of 50s women, is the easiest way to put it. Not after all this time. And, you know, who wants to get in a queue at the DWP with evidence they've gathered and say, doff your cap and say, hello, you know, I meet this criteria, here's my evidence, how much can I have? No, that's discrimination in itself, because all 50s women have been affected, not just the ones that they want to this is so frustrating, sorry, you know, they want to cherry pick a group and say, do you know what, you were the worst off. In our opinion, you were the worst off, so here's a pittance. And all the others, well, very sorry, ladies. Yeah, get back to work. Yeah, you've been back to work for 6 years. You've had the cumulative compound impact of, you know, the state pension age deferrals on your income. People have lost their homes. Their marriages have broken up. Their illness, physical and mental illness. You know, it's just the impact of this injustice is catastrophic, and that we will not sit by and watch a modest cohort of 50s women cherry picked by the PHSO so that he can give less to women who deserve their earned dues. Elaine says £10 donated. Sorry, that's all I can afford. Look, you know, don't know if it's £10, don't matter if it's £200, or, you know, some philanthropist comes along and says, sorry, I don't know what happened. Some philanthropist comes along and says, hey, here's the lot, and, you know, I'm going to fund everything for you. You know, we haven't crossed that off possibilities. You know, put a comment on there and say, you know, I wish I could put whatever on there. I can't. I can only afford this. Make it known. Do it anonymously if you don't want to embarrass yourself. Not that I don't think you should be embarrassed. I think you should be proud of the fact that you're actually going to give £10 out of, you know, your budget that is straightened. Yeah, so look, we need to get out there and we need to say to women, come on, surely this is worth a donation. Because what one single woman could afford to instruct John Cooper and David Green by themselves, you are getting a first-class legal team for whatever it is you donate. I mean, come on, this, you know, it's a no-brainer. So, I'm just looking, see if there's. Seriously, you speak the truth here about the absolute cut price of the offer. These fabulous esteemed lawyers are giving us 50s women. I've got divorced in 2019 and mine cost me 70 grand, and they believe in us, 50s women, and in a strong case we have their support. Yeah, I did invite Waspy, and it wasn't the first time we've invited Waspy to stuff and they've either ignored us or said no. Yeah. A few pounds donated could give a huge return. I mean, your return on investment is just, you know, it's like fire insurance on a burning house, this donation that we're asking for. You know, your house is burning, metaphorically speaking, okay? You've had the impact of the state pension age changes, the cumulative impact. You're now looking at the autumn statement, a cost of living crisis, Brexit, climate change, you know, everything that's going to be coming against you in your golden years. And this opportunity to make a donation is your fire insurance on your, metaphorically speaking, burning house. So what I'm saying to you is, please, you know, ask your friends, ask people you work with, ask your neighbours, anyone you come across, you know, ask them to donate and say, you know, say the reasons why. So, you know, what we would like to do now is say thank you to everybody who's donated. Thank you everybody who's shared the link. Thank you to everybody who is, you know, been with us for years or is a newcomer to the campaign, because there are lots of newcomers to the campaign, by the way, from other groups, and some remain anonymous. They're afraid to actually put their head above the parapet because they'll be excommunicated from the, they tell us this, from the other groups. You know, so look, I don't get it. What is Waspy afraid of? Surely it would give them the perfect opportunity to put their case here. Well, yeah, we're ploughing our own field now. They've had their opportunity time and again, and this, you know, we have to focus with the hand that we've been given. And the case will be about all 50s women, as per the judicial review was about all 50s women, and as per the judge's report, which is about all 50s women. So yeah. Moira Briggs, thank you, Joanne, for all your hard work on behalf of 50s women. Together we can win. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe it. And believe me, there's been times, you know, and I've told this to our team, you know, I want my life back. And I'm going to be straight about this. I want my life back. I can't walk away from this injustice knowing that there's this opportunity that I've just been describing, that there's this opportunity. I can't walk away. And the reason I can't walk away is because I need a clear conscience about it, okay? And that's why I'm still here. And I'm pretty sure all of you feel the same. We all want our lives back, that with the golden years that we actually paid for, that we actually earned, that we actually deserve. We're claiming those golden years we have left, and we're asking you together with us to claim those golden years for yourself and for all women your age, and actually for younger generations. Because look, just think about this. You can say to your daughters, you can say to your nieces, to any women younger than you that come into your orbit, yeah, I was one of the 50s women. You know, tell the story and say, what I want you to do, you younger children, women, not children, you younger women, you know, because of us, because of the fight we had, and, you know, personally, I'm anticipating a win. Because of that fight and that win, your lives are now better, because the government will not stand up and treat women in the misogynistic manner that 50s women have been treated, because they know that we will tell our younger generations that it's not acceptable. You don't have to be putting up with this. You're entitled to sit at those tables where decisions are made about your lives and make those decisions. We don't need anybody who thinks that they can make decisions for women and think that women can't make them themselves. They can. We women, you know, let's face it, you know, the best way to do things, have some men and some women around the table. And, you know, it doesn't have to be just women making the decision or just men making the decision. You know, we are, you know, this is about family life. This is about communities. This is about society. This is about everybody in this country working together for a quality of life that we deserve, that is actually diminishing by the day. The quality of life for everybody is diminishing by the day. So stand up. This is not only about your pension. Largely, the majority of this fight is about your pension. And, you know, saying, sorry, you robbed me and I want my money back, essentially. This is also about fighting you know, for women's rights and saying, you know, our rights, enforceable rights have been breached. And we're going to court and we're going to say, here's the evidence. We want this evidence examined. And we're claiming whatever it is the legal team decide we should claim. And I can't speak for the legal team, and I would not, you know, even think about that. We bow to the legal team. They're such a great team. So look, please, really, this weekend, let's get this, I don't know, it's about 15%, I should imagine, left that we need to get, which is nothing. On top of that, we do have to pay platform fees and what they call them, platform fees and transaction fees, which we think is about £1,000. But I'm just waiting for them to come back to me to tell me how much that will be. But yeah, you know, we get that money and we can get the case development. We can say, okay, this is what we're doing. And yeah, you know, whatever the legal team announced. By the way, excuse me, on early December, we'll be on Salford City Radio again. I'm hoping that the legal team will be invited and accept the invitation to go on Salford City Radio, and you know, we'll have a lot more to say at that point. So thank you. I'm going to head off now, and you know, please, the call to action is, let's get this money this weekend, please. You know, and anything I've said about any other group, I will say to their faces. Okay, I'm not afraid to say those things. And they probably say things to me that they think about our campaign and me. Well, you know, I'm not afraid to hear that. I can counter any argument that any of them have. I've invited them to what they call them, live streams. Let's live stream a debate and talk this out. None of them accept that invitation. Why is that? If they're so sure of their ground, why won't they come to us and talk? Why won't they join us? Why won't they debate it? This is the curious thing. We're trying to be transparent and get everybody together. And, I'm not saying I'm perfect. No, I'm not saying that. I'm a human being. We all have our flaws. But one thing about our team, the Sea Door-in-Law team, who I'm very proud of, who work so hard as volunteers, try to run their lives, try to support each other all these years, working in the background, and all the work they do, and they deserve the accolade that others are trying to claim. They deserve it. And yeah, I'm really proud of where we are, and I'm really proud that we can look back on our work with a clear conscience and say, we did all these things, and we get up in the morning and we try to do our best. Okay, yeah, we do. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for the nice things you're saying here. Right, I'm going to head off now, and can this be recorded? Yeah, sure, we're going to record it. And Jones applauding, great. Look, I applaud all you, the way I came to this, I didn't think to myself one day, hey, do you know what, I'll get involved in a campaign and spend 10 years of my life volunteering to, not 10, it's less than 10. I first met Waspy in 2015. That's another story that I'll tell one day. So it's 8. So, yeah, it's a great story, by the way. And, we have all our evidence, all our paperwork is archived and classified. And we will, the book is going to write itself, and the film. And, yeah, we'll be delighted to have this injustice echo in eternity on the right side of history. Thank you, everybody. See you soon. Bye.